Morning, people. Do I look amused? Because I'm not. Well, apparently, Biden approved a plan to allow for long-range missiles directly into Russian territory. Now, however you feel about the war, pro or against it, I'm sure you could probably figure out my opinion. Hasn't happened just yet, but this could trigger some shit, like badly. I mean, it's one thing when other nations were sending supplies, aid, whatever, but then it got to the point where now North Korean troops went in, and now this. Escalation after escalation. I don't know where this is gonna go, people. I definitely would be lying if I was not a little nervous. Now, at the same time, I don't want people to be, anxious about this. I'm not making this video to get people scared. I'm making it just so everyone's aware. But this was apparently made in a decision last night, pretty much on most of the news at this point. A few years ago, someone asked me what I thought my vision of the future was going to be. And again, I try not to get into politics these days. But I was honest. I honestly feel, and I don't want to feel this way, but I do feel there will be a major war. A war that involves a draft at some point. Now again, I'm not saying I want this. Dear Lord, I want everything but this. It's not an option that I think most people would agree with. But I feel at this point the powers in the world, the leaders of governments, not actual peoples. I think Ron Paul said it best once when he said that it was the governments that caused the wars. Paraphrase his quote. And it's true. And once again, it looks like the governments of the world are marching us towards something we should not be marching towards. So again, I'm just doing this video for awareness. Biden has authorized now missiles into Russian territory. Again, I'm not saying our troops directly, but I'm saying our weapons sent to Ukraine, now for Ukraine to use. Again, escalation after escalation, tit for tat. It's not going to end well. I think we all know that already. Just how it ends, that's yet to be seen. On that note, people, stay updated. God bless. And as always, be well.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakadash. I'm going to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in this gospel raw, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. What you witnessing here, or what you witnessed, was just a video. This guy basically going into his worries about World War III, the third woe, as the Bible affectionately called it, or the War of Armageddon, or the third woe, as we affectionately consider or call World War III, which the Bible speaks of 3 world wars, with the third and final world war to be the end of this Western hegemony that is led by the Edomites, which is the so-called white man today. Okay, contrary to popular opinion, to what this guy Vocab teaches, that Esau was done away with and he couldn't attack us from that angle. So now he goes as far as trying to engraft all nations into our salvation, when the Bible follows a particular lineage or a particular family from the beginning to the end, which is the chosen seed of Abraham, which is through Isaac and Jacob, through to his 12 sons, which are the biblical Israelites, which use so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans today. But anyway, it's a different topic for another time. As this guy, vocab, it's really insignificant at this point, but for prophecy's sake and for edification's sake, we do continue to speak on these things because, there's an awakening that's happening right before our eyes, according to the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, starting at 20 verses 27 on down, about the valley of dry bones and those that had life that was breathed into them, which is the spirit of Yahushua. All right, and it said that we to stand on our feet as a mighty army, and this is symbolic of the camps and the men you're seeing out there teaching in the correct spirit. But anyway, it says here, worrying nuclear map shows areas where 75% of population would die in World War III. And reality of it is, if they're talking about Babylon the Great, we know that there's going to be a remnant, according to the election and grace, that will survive this nuclear war here in the West or here in America, because we know that ultimately America, aka the daughter of Babylon, or the mystery Babylon, will be totally annihilated in this coming world war, which you heard the guy was basically going into how he believed that there would be some type of reinstation of a draft, which makes all the sense in the world because, over several videos and throughout, particular times we've done videos on me particular about how the Esau have not met recruiting numbers for some time now. So he's completely understaffed when it comes to meeting his armed force recruitment numbers. So they're going to have to bring back a draft regardless, right? But it says here, code, which I can actually listen to the article because I'm actually driving, which, that may be the better thing to do to listen to it, but, for edification. It says a Cold War era map shows how the U.S. will cope in the aftermath of a nuclear conflict, and the predictions aren't good. As they say, 75% of the people, which, that's for speculation because you roughly have 350 million people here in America. All right. And that's just counting the people that's involved in the census, because every so often you have the Census Bureau that come around and they basically get a countage or a percentage of people that lives in these homes. And then they report it back to the government for statistical purposes. But just as many people that do census, you may have, you can easily have roughly 400 million people here, probably close to 500 million people here, just to be totally honest. And people say, well, that's a half of a billion people. But 350 million is not too far off from that, But according to what's documented, you have roughly 350 million people. But let's look at the people that don't do the census and that don't, that's not on the grid, homeless people, etc. Because homeless people don't do census because they ain't got nothing to report to because they're homeless, right? So you can add that onto the already 350 million people. So you can say you have roughly 4.5 million people here. All right. And we know that majority of these people here are going to be destroyed, whether it be in the race wars or the class wars and ultimately the world war, because according to the Bible, America is going to be totally destroyed by thermonuclear fire. And when you go into this article, it pretty much hints at that because it's inevitable. And it's common knowledge that America will be drugged into the Third World War, which they're pretty much already in. Okay, you've already had Biden administration to send troops down to the Middle East to be on standby in escalation of this conflict between Bibi Mikowski and Iranians. Okay, which the Houthis and Hamas, which is basically proxies of Iran. The small hats have been locked in this war ever since really last year, October 7th. Okay, but going back into 2022, of February and March, you've had this Ukrainian-Russian war, which NATO and really America, okay, through the small hats have provoked that because they found that biolabs was being sprung up in the Ukraine, all right? And they had the signature of U.S. delegates there, man. So it's inevitable, right? But it says a chilling Cold War era map, which technically we're still in a Cold War, okay, which is assumed to be a hot war. But it says paints a dire picture for the United States following a nuclear conflict, with estimates suggesting up to 75% of the population in the world's most impacted zones will perish. It ain't no could, it will. because the scriptures say that they're going to return and build the desolate cities. And how are the cities going to be made desolate? First and foremost, through rioting, okay, through civil war, okay, mainly, and ultimately through particular attacks, whether it be through pocket nukes or tomahawk missiles, the military blowing bridges, and overall nuclear war, because we know that nuclear war is going to hit several parts of the world, but ultimately the West, mainly here in Babylon the Great, was going to see the primary impact of those ICBMs in the land of Israel. But that land will be built back up according to the scriptures. But it reads here, it says, the world's nuclear powers, including US, UK, France, Russia, and China, and Pakistan, India, and North Korea. Okay? So they're naming the nations that will be involved in World War III. And it reads, it says, Israel is also... Come on, man. What are you doing? Stay in your lane, bro. Anyway, it says, Israel is also presumed to possess nuclear weapons, right? Because this is a well-known fact that the small hats are going to be the progenitor of this war. As the scriptures say, the least of the flock should draw them out. But it says here, although it is never officially acknowledged why Iran is progressing its substantial uranium enrichment program, a 1986 study by the Institute of Medicine Research, William Daugherty, Barbara Levi, and Frank von Hippel analyzed the potential aftermath of a nuclear strike on the U.S. And one thing I noticed that the small hats, they don't really declassify the weaponry that they got because, you know, they have immunity from said tyranny, man. Like I was looking up today, one article came out and it mentioned that B.B. Mikowski, I think it's about an ICC or something like that. Basically, they put a warrant out for this guy because of war crimes, man. Which, you know, that may not turn out to be anything, because if they really wanted to arrest this dude, then, you know, they would have done it. But, you know, he's locked in the war, so they're not going to officially arrest him. But yet he has an arrest warrant issued out for him, because we know that, you know, those small hats are engaged in a genocidal war to put an ethnic cleansing to a land that's not even theirs, you know. But anyway, it says here, they focus on attacking or targeting America's nuclear arsenal, specifically the Minuteman missile silos, which land-based nukes from 1950s, which could explode where they are stored, and that will lead to an extensive radiation spread throughout all the country. Okay, and we already broke down, and we've already mentioned how Babylon the Great is basically a ticking time bomb, because, I mean, for one thing, a lot of this land is built on, you have like gas mains, you have major faults here. Like pretty much the whole goddamn continent sits on particular fault lines, man. You got the San Andreas fault line, you got the New Madrid fault line, okay? You got what they call the Ring of Fire. You have all types of seismic activity that's going on in America that's going unnoticed, man, okay? Especially in the island of Hawaii, that ain't nothing but a damn volcano. Okay, then you have all these gas mains, and then you have all these nuclear sites. You got Yellowstone National Park, which has been in process of erupting for the last 20 years. They've been threatened. But outside of that, this place is a hotbed, man. All right, but it reads here. Hold on, this article tripping. Yep, but it says here, but according to the map, radioactive fallout will be carried by prevailing winds from west to east. And it says here, engulfing the entire nation. So let's just say, and Salaki, I'm actually driving, so I'm kind of a little paying attention to the phone and trying not to hit nothing. So I'm actually getting ready to really pull over so I can really focus on what I got to do here to be circumspect. So give me 1 second, Salaki. I thought it was going to be one of them articles I can breeze through and get the edification on it, but this take a little bit more in depthness. So just Salaki, give me at least 2 seconds so I can pull over. All right. But it says here, according to the map, it says radioactive fallout will be carried by prevailing winds from west to east, engulfing the entire nation. But the researchers stated, we have made the unusual assumption that each of the 1,116 U.S. missile silos, okay, this is where they store their warheads, man, silos in missile launch control centers will be struck by 2.5 megaton warheads. All right. It says, but at the time, the Soviet Union had approximately 3,000 of these warheads. But the scientists identified the most dangerous areas on the map, pinpointing zones where radiation levels would exceed 35,000 rads, man. Okay, and that's pretty bad because, like I said, they got what they call a fallout zone. So after the donation or the initial donation, you know, you have the wind, and you have the smoke, the fire, then you have the radiation. And if you survive the blast, the radiation alone will kill your ass, man. Because humans are not able to withstand radiation poisoning. Look at what happened to those moguls during the time when they donated the atom bomb. Like if you saw that movie called The Hill Have Eyes, they was basically there was an experimentation of basically nuclear testing or nuclear testing, man. Which the hydrogen or the atom bomb, you can basically say they're lower level nuclear weapons, man, because of the particular uranium they use. Even though it's not equivalent to ICBM, but hey, it still caused massive amount of damage because those people was jacked up. Okay, and those that survived from that time, even today, a lot of people are still jacked up from the day, and a lot of their offspring, man. Okay, because you know when they test these warheads and shit, they supposed to do it offshore, and really you're not supposed to even be testing it. So this is why a lot of times they'll donate them over water, which is stupid, because for one thing, that's your drinking supply of water. You know, then they donate it over the ocean, and they're realizing why you having all this pollution and all this poison in the ocean. Like the scriptures goes into wormwood and gall, you know, the rivers being poisonous. But yet you got Esau, and he shoots these things up into the heavens. And then all of a sudden, you know, you have chemical leaks, radiation leaks. And before you know it, you got a population of bug outs, man. All right? Because ultimately, that's very toxic to the mind. Okay, nuclear radiation. But it reads here, it says, within the region, more than 3/4 of the population would die, scientists concluded. And these are represented in the black sections of the map. So basically, they give you a little bullshit rinky-dink map. But the reality of it is, these missiles are going to hit this entire place. All right, and if you're not of the elect, you're not going to survive. The only people that's going to survive out of this society is the elect, okay? And the elites, they're going to survive because technically the elites, they're not going to be over here. Okay, they know that America is going to be destroyed because in their mindset, this is their chance to set up their new world order, what they've been longing for, but that's not going to happen according to prophecy. The Lord is going to upset that. All right, so if you're not of the elect, then don't expect the ship to come pick you up. You through. Missile food. But it says here, the experts describe the horrific sequence of events following a nuclear disaster. Nuclear explosions create a great deal of short-lived radioactivity, mostly associated with fission products, which I can actually look that up, man. Let me look that up. Get a little edification on that. Give me a second. Come on, man. Let's do this. Let's look that up. Yep, it says fission in biology is the division of a single entity in two or more parts and the regeneration of those parts, separate entities resembling the original. All right, it says the object experienced in fission is usually a cell, but the term may also refer to how organisms, bodies, and populations or species split into discrete parts. It says it may be binary fission, which is a single organism which produces part, or multiple fissions in which a single entity produces multiple parts. All right, so let's do this. Nuclear fission. Yep, are the small atomic fragments produced when a large atomic nucleus undergoes nuclear fission. It says products can be a variety of elements, including xenon, krypton, iodine, iodine, cesium, and strontium. It says they are produced with nuclear occurs when heavy element like uranium splits into two smaller nuclei, splitting atoms, you know what I'm saying, and making nuclear weapons, releasing heat, energy, gamma rays, and a few neutrons. Basically, from a nuclear blast or something equivalent, okay, can cause all types of issues, man, within people. But people ain't going to survive it because, I mean, people are going to get melted. But it says here, it says in the case of airbursts, the fireball will carry out this radioactivity into the upper atmosphere, from which it will slowly filter down as a rather diffuse distribution called global fallout over the period of months to years. But in such case of an attack on a so-called hard target, such as missile silos, which can withstand high overpressures, the nuclear weapons will have to be exploded so close to ground that surface material will be sucked into fireball mixed with the vaporized bombs products carried by a buoyancy of the fireball into the upper atmosphere. But the report by Princeton University scholars titled Casualties Due to the Blast, Heat and Radioactive Fallout from Various Hypothetical Nuclear Attacks on the United States paints a grim picture that the aftermath of the nuclear strike. It says they detailed much of the bomb material and surface material will condense into particles, a large fraction of which will descend to the surface again within 24 hours. Within 24 hours in an intense swath of local fallout downwind from the target. It says the study concludes with dire caution. It is our hope that national decision makings will develop a better understanding of collateral consequences of hypothetical first strikes, of the enormous destructive capacity of the weapons that will survive, but the understanding should make them less likely to seek counterforce capabilities or to fear such an attack on the other side. So basically, no retaliation, but the Lord gonna put the spirit on their ass to fight. All right, so let's go into the scriptures real quick, because the Lord tells us what's gonna happen. This is the book of 2nd Esdras 15, and I'm gonna start at verses 10. It says, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter, and I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt," which this Egypt is talking about modern day America. Okay, modern day Egypt is Babylon the Great, America. And it reads, it says, "But I will bring them out with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before." And the ultimate plague is going to be these nuclear missiles. And will destroy all the land thereof, man. All right, so this whole land is going to get decimated. Ain't going to be no 75% of the people left. You ain't of the elect. You're going to be destroyed. Okay, that's Zechariah 14:12. Those that fought against Jerusalem, they should dissolve away. Their eyes should melt in their holes and their tongues and their roughly paraphrasing it. The eyes should consume away in their sockets, and basically their tongue should melt within. That goes into the ultimate form of being dehydrated from the donation of these nuclear missiles, man. Prime example would display that is Terminator 2, when Sarah Connor was basically missile food when it was just the blast alone that ignited her, man. Okay, she wasn't even hit with the actual missile. It was just the radius alone, that ignited her, the heat. So donating the upper atmosphere, that's going to it's going to draw all the heat and all the cold air, and it's going to pretty much, it's kind of like they call a fallout effect. When they shoot it in the air, it's going to pretty much dehydrate the air. Most people are going to fucking die from dehydration and being burnt alive, man, even before the fire hits. Even though people are going to be in that fire, but you get the point. A lot of people would just perish from the blast alone. All right, because the Lord said he was going to send 200,000 of those missiles here to Babylon the Great. But it says Egypt should mourn, and the foundation of it should be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh should bring upon it, man. All right, and that's ultimately World War III, judgment. All right, this is the book of 2nd Esdras 16, and I'm gonna start at verses 12. It says, "The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof, and the sea ariseth with waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before the Lord, and the glory of his power. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shoot are sharp, which is the missiles, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot in the ends of the world." Okay, and those arrows are talking about missiles, which proves the Bible speaks of a nuclear war. All right, it says, "But behold, the plagues are sent, and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled, and shall not be put out, till it consume the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backwards, even so the plagues that should be sent upon the earth shall not return again." Okay, but woe is me who would deliver me in those days? And Ezra is asking the question through the spirit, because he's seen it in a vision, and he saw the destruction, man. Like when the Lord gave prophets the visions, whether they were sleeping or whether the Lord put them in a trance, The Lord showed them this particular time. And this is why they stated that I was in the spirit in the day of the Lord, because the Lord took them from the time frame they was in and he put them in this day, and he showed them like a spectating type thing. Like if you play like Call of Duty, they have like what they call a spectator mode, and you're there, but you're not there, but you're seeing the whole ordeal go down. All right. So let's go from here to the book of Isaiah 65. And let's start at verses 65 and matter of fact, nope, 66 and 16. This is the book of Isaiah 66 and 15. It says, "For behold, the Lord cometh with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind." And we've always explained that the chariots and the missiles are going to work in tandem on destroying this place. And this is why it's going to take an hour for it to be destroyed, because you're going to have chariots and missiles. Like we say, whatever the missiles don't get, the chariots will. But it says, like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire, which is ultimately those missiles. And it says, "For by fire and by his sword would the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord should be many." Okay, because the scriptures say, what roughly paraphrasing it, it says, it was slain 7,000 men, which was roughly a completion of men. Because like we mentioned, you roughly have 350 million documented people in America. But let's talk about undocumented people, people that don't do census. And on top of that, the 50 million migrants that's not documented. Okay, that's easily of 450 million people. You easily have 500 million people here. Okay, because America's a lot bigger than what they lead on. Okay, they say you could fit majority of the world's population in the state of Texas. So this place it has a lot of people here. All right, unlike what Esau tells you, oh, it's just 300. It's more than that. At least I believe that, you know. But here, Jeremiah 51, and I'm gonna start at verses 47. It says, "Behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and our whole land should be confounded." It says the whole land, all right? It says here, "And her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, and the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, says the Lord." And it says, "And as Babylon has caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth," man. But the key point is the whole land. All right, the whole land will be devoured in the fire of the Lord's jealousy, man. Okay, matter of fact, let's do this. I think it's Zephaniah 3. Yep, 3 and 8. It says, "Therefore wait ye upon me, says the Lord, until the day that I rise up into the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth should be devoured in the fire of my jealousy." All right, and it's not talking about the whole global earth, the whole oikoumene in a sense, but it's talking about, you know, mainly the places that's going to get hit. Like we said, Israel is going to be destroyed, which will be built back up, and America is going to be totally destroyed to never be inhabited again. All right. Here, let's find it. What is it? Isaiah 14. Yep, 15 and 22. It says, "For I will rise up against them, and the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, says the Lord. And I will also make it a possession for the bitterness and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, says the Lord." Now, if you watch that movie called The Knowing, at the end, when you saw the nuclear destruction, that was what they considered a besom, because a besom goes into something that sweeps. You saw the wind, and then as the wind came, the buildings were toppling over, the elements were melting, cars were flying, and then the blast, and then the fire. Okay, which end game is going to be fire. All right, hence this place will be called the lake of fire. All right, Isaiah 13, and I'm gonna start at verses 19. "In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' excellency should be as when the Lord overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and renewed the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah that the Most High overthrew because of the wickedness." Right? It says, "And it should never be inhabited again, neither should it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there." Okay, because America is going to be the biggest desert on the planet Earth. "And their houses should be full of doleful creatures, and owls should dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons in their pleasant palaces, and in her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And we're swiftly coming upon the days of the end of America, man. All right. We believe that this next administration, or whether this current administration, will be the administration to bring in the war of Armageddon, Lord's will. All right. Because basically Biden just made a crazy move that pretty much will set him up for dictator if a national emergency is declared. So, hey, man, just keep your eyes on so-called Middle East. Keep your eyes on Israel, Iran. Keep your eyes on Russia, Ukraine. Also North Korea, which I believe North Korea sent troops into Russia. And now they have a partnership, which is according to Ezekiel 38, So it's looking like it's getting ready to hit the head. All right, but Revelation 9 and 18, it says by these three. Matter of fact, let's start at 15. And it says, and the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay a third part of men, which goes into you Edomites, all right? But a third part of men is a particular number, which you have three classifications of peoples. Sons of God, which is the Israelites. Sons of the heathens, which are the sons of men. And then the sons of the wicked. And that third part is the sons of the wicked. Okay? And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, which are the nuclear missiles or the missiles. Because outside of nuclear missiles, you're going to have all types of shit hitting America as well. Not just only nukes. ICBMs mainly, but you're going to have other types of shit. Tomahawks, all sorts of missiles, right? And on top of that, the chariots. But it says here, and thus I saw the horses in a vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and of brimstone, and the heads of the horses as were the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. But by these three was the third part of men killed by the fire, and by the smoke, and by brimstone which issued out of their mouths, man. All right? So, that's pretty much it, man. I'm going to end it. I think the point is being made. Giving all praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh Shemi Hawashai. Lord's will you edify. And to